Hey everyone, welcome to another How to Webflow. In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how I did this. Okay, so this was done for a recent client. His name is Hunter Hughes from evolvedcinema.com. And really cool guy, really creative director, and he really knows what he wants. And he needed a way to show off his services in a unique way, and this is what I came up with, and he liked it. So I'm going to show you how to create it from scratch, and some things to know about this before we go into it. It's kind of advanced. You need to understand the box model. You kind of need to understand grid and flexbox, and you also need to understand position relative absolute. And lastly, you need to know the basics of Webflow interactions. Now, I know that's a lot, but I really try to break it down as simple as I can, as with every video I create. So let's get to it. All right, so just for reference again, this is the section I'll be recreating. And you can see that there's multiple hover effects that are happening right now. So you have the title color changing from black to white on the text color. You have this color bar swiping down, and you have this paragraph expanding and collapsing. Oh, and lastly, you have this background video doing a crossfade between other videos. All right. Let's go ahead and rebuild it. I'm going to go to a blank page and bring in a section. And this section, let's give it a height of 650. All right. And we're going to set this one to position relative because the background videos later in the video is going to be position absolute. But we'll just leave this as is. Let's go ahead and bring in a grid. Set it to 4 columns, 1 row, no gap in between the columns. Cool. And now let's bring in a div block, and this div block, we're going to call it a column. Okay. And let's go back to grid 2. Sorry about that. And set the height to 100%. And there we go. So 100% of the section, which is 650. We want 100% height. There we go. And then we bring in our column, which is here. And I want to make sure that none of the text hits the sides or the top of the column. So I'm going to hold shift and bring my padding down to something like 30 pixels all around. Okay. Now let's go ahead and center all the text inside of it. And let's put in our text. So we have our heading, and this is going to be H3. We're going to call this service 1, and underneath it we're gonna have a div block, and this div block we're gonna call it paragraph wrapper, and we're gonna set this one to overflow hidden, and we're gonna give it text color of white because the paragraph in here, when we put it in, we want it to be white. So obviously we're not going to see it yet, but that's okay. And I'm going to click back on column, and I realize I need position relative because there's going to be that color box that swipes down. It's going to be position absolute. So let's go ahead and bring in a div block, call it color box, and set it to position absolute and set it to the top. And let's give it a height of 100% just for now so we can see the color. Going to give it a background color of gray and an alpha channel of 50. Okay, 50%, so I can see through it and see the video playing behind it. All right, now that we can see our work, and this is what we want. One more last thing. I need to put the z-index to -1. And that way, all the other content, like this heading and this paragraph, is shown on top of it. All right, so -1 pushes it back. Now I can set the height back to 0. Okay, so when I hover over this, it's going to go like this to 100%. All right, so 0 this out. Cool. All right, now, my last video, I said I'm not going to use Flexbox anymore. I should have said, oh gosh, I should have said I'm not going to use Flexbox for the main layout elements. Okay, so for example, this grid, see how fast it was to create 4 columns? But for this column, I need to center these 2 elements. And the fastest way to do that is Flexbox vertical center. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Put in the comments now. Put in the comments now. Told you, Nelson. You live and you learn. I get it. I get it. I can already see the tweets. Okay. Calm down. Calm down. Okay. I'm learning. Everyone's learning. I'm here. Okay. Moving on. Copy and paste it 3 more times. 1, 2, 3. Service number 2. Service number 3. And service number 4. Sweet. Now that we have this set up, let's move on to interactions. Let's do the fun stuff. All right, so I'm going to click on column. Oops, why does this body have an interaction? Let me delete that. There we go. So first thing I'm going to do is click on the column, and we're going to add an element trigger of hover. And on hover, I'm going to start a custom animation. Press plus for timed animation. We're going to call this column hover on. And now that we have our trigger set, we need to set our targets. So our first target is color box. So I'm going to select that, press plus, and set the size from height. So it's already at 0. I'm going to set the height to 100%. Okay, so 100% and awesome. All right. But that animation is kind of like meh. So I'm going to set the easing to out quint. That looks pretty cool. Something like that. All right. So that one's done. Let's go ahead and set our paragraph wrapper as our next target. I'm going to press plus. And our paragraph wrapper is going to have a size. And we're going to set this size as initial state. So initially, the paragraph wrapper is going to have a height of 0 pixels. Okay, so with 0 pixels, I can't see the text. All right, and now when I hover over it, I'm going to set the size of the paragraph wrapper to auto, and also set the easing to out quint. And so when I press play, it's also expanding at the same time. Okay, it's kind of subtle. Next, we need to target this. So if I press plus and set the target, the heading to text color, it does selected element. Okay, now this is bad. I shouldn't do this because if I want to reuse this same interaction on the other columns, it's only going to target this because this is the selected element. So what I need to do is delete that interaction, go back to each of my elements, and give them a class name. So I'm going to go to Styles panel, give it a class name of service title. There we go. Okay, all of them have service title. Now I'm going back to interactions, make sure that I have column selected. Open up my mouse hover, column hover on, select service title, and now I can add a plus text column and see that paintbrush, the blue paintbrush. We want to make sure that that's happening. Set my easing to out quint, change my color to white, and there we go. All right, and now we need to do the hover out. So let's go here to action, start animation. Oh, I don't want to create a new one. Let me go back. Let me delete that one. Okay, so hover out animation. I'm going to click this, okay, and duplicate that one. Okay, this makes it easier. So I'm going to open that, and this I'm going to rename it hover out. And then for this, I'm going to delete it. And then I can just say the color box, it was 100% height. Now I'm just going to set it back to 0. Service title, it was white, and now it's black. And then paragraph wrapper, it was auto. Now it's 0 pixels. All right. And let's see if it works. There it goes. And so when you set everything up as classes, notice how it's saying right here, only children with this class. Now, if you don't understand this part, listen very closely. Our element with the trigger right here, this is the parent, okay? This is a parent, and all three of these right here are the children. Service title, paragraph wrapper, and color box. These are the children of column, all right? Now, what I'm saying is if this column has a trigger and my target is paragraph wrapper, make sure that this only happens on the children of this. So these have the same class names right here, but these children have different parents. So it's not going to affect these, all right? So that's what that means. If I do siblings, okay, that means that if this is the column and it's looking for siblings, all these other columns, those are the siblings of this. All right. And then only parents. Parents means, okay, so any parent going upwards. Okay. So that's what this drop down means. Very important. Okay. So now that this is done and we know it's working on this column, we can easily scroll all the way down in the interactions panel for this mouse hover and give it a trigger of class. So any element with the class name of column will automatically have hover on and hover off animations that apply to it. And you can see it right here. The other three now have that lightning bolt. So if I preview, there we go. That interaction is done. And now all we have to do is bring in the video clips. So let's do that. Just so I don't have to re-upload the videos and retranscode them, I'm just going to copy and paste the element and explain what I did. So I'm going to copy services background, go back to my thing, and paste it inside of section. And there we go. Okay. Now, like I said this in the beginning, the section has a position of relative because this services right here has a position of absolute and a -1. Okay. And the opacity, the overall opacity is 18. And to make everything black and white, because the videos actually have color, I set the saturate to 0%. Okay. And now, where did I put the videos? I put them in here. Now, each of these hover effects, they're all sharing the same class names. All of the elements inside of these have the same class name, but I don't want the hover effect of this to be affecting all the other videos. So that's why each video has a different class name. All right. Now, let's go ahead and set the interactions up to do the actual crossfading. So I'm going to click on column, lightning bolt, and if you didn't know this yet, you can add multiple triggers to the same element. And you can also put this like 2 hovers, 3 hovers, or a hover and a click. It's like whatever you want to do. It's very flexible. So I'm adding a new hover just for this one. And I'm going to start an animation, create a new one, and call this service 1. And what this is going to do is I'm going to target this service and add a hide and show And just to make sure that the initial state is set to none. Okay, so this affects all elements with this class. Well, there's only one with service one, so that's okay. And now I'm going to turn it on with the hide and show again. I'm going to turn it on with the display block. Also, I'm going to set the opacity to 100. All right, let's see what happens. There we go. Seems kind of abrupt though. Hold on. Yeah, it just shows up. So what I also need to do in the initial state is to set the opacity also to 0. So it starts at 0 and fades in. There we go. There we go. Cool. So it starts out as display none and opacity 0, and then hide and show turns it on with display block and opacity 100%. Cool. And now I can go to hover out, start animation, and I'm going to duplicate service 1 and call it service to service out 1. Yeah, service out 1. All right. And what I can do is delete both of these and set this hide and show to go after. So I'm going to drag it. So after the opacity becomes 0%, turn it back off. All right. So let's see what happens. There it is. Okay. And yeah, that's it. So let's go ahead and do the same thing with the other three. But I'm going to show you how to do it much faster. Now that we have the first one done, I'm going to add a mouse hover. On hover, start animation. Now I can duplicate this and call this service 2. And instead of having to redo this all, I can click on the first one, hold shift, click on the last one, right click anywhere in these interactions, change target, select number 2. And then do the same thing and hover out, start animation, duplicate the service out 1, choose both, change target, service 2. Not too hard. All right. Now a little bit faster with service 3. Mouse hover, start, duplicate that, change it to service 3, choose all of them, change target, service 3. Hover out, start animation, service 2, duplicate, change, service 3, we're done. Service 4, add a new hover, start animation, duplicate this, call it number 4, change this target to 4, there we go. And lastly, service out 4, change these, and awesome. Cool. All right, last step. What's it look like for mobile? So if I go to tablet, go to grid, delete 2 columns, delete or set the row gap to 0. We're good. Go to landscape. And let's delete one more column. And there we go. Cool. And it works there too. So yeah, that's it. All right, that's it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Go ahead and call me out for using Flexbox. Or if you have a tutorial suggestion that you want me to put on my to-do list, go ahead and leave that below too. Thank you all so much. I'll see you in the next one. And as always, make the web beautiful together. See ya.